So the null hypothesis will be H0 average yield in 2010 was not better. This is what is known. It was the same to the average yield in 2011. Look at how I'm writing. This is mean for 2010. The average yield of Mahangu was the same as the average yield in 2011. But there is a claim that the yield in 2010 was better than the yield in 2011. Better in this case means it was greater. So there was greater yield in 2010 than in 2011. The yield was the same. I want you to take note that this can be written as this same hypothesis, this one, can be written as H0 average in 2010 minus average in 2011 was equal to 0. If you subtract two numbers and you get 0, you are actually saying those two numbers are the same. That is mathematically correct. Now, or average yield in 2010 minus average yield in 2011, what will happen here? This one is greater. Now you are subtracting a smaller number from a greater number. A smaller number subtracted from a greater number will give us, the answer will always be greater than 0. So we are saying average yield of Mahangu in 2010 was actually greater than the average yield in 2011. Because if you subtract the two and you get something bigger, it means this one was greater than this one. Now with this one, if you are performing a t-test, remember the conditions that I've given you. Suppose we take a sample of farmers in Namibia and we record how much yield they recorded in 2010. Suppose we take maybe 26 farmers taken for 2010, and we also take maybe 22 farmers in 2011. We calculate their average. We will have the average for these 26 farmers, we call it X bar, remember? That is X bar 1. Let me continue to use 2010. This is the average of 26 farmers in 2010. And we will also get the average of 22 farmers in 2011. Now, because we don't know the standard deviation of yield in 2010 and the standard deviation of yield in 2011, we can actually calculate the standard deviation of the yield for farmers in 2010 of these 26. So that one is not, we don't refer to it as a sigma, because this is not for the population. 26 is not for the population. All the farmers who planted Mahangu in Namibia in 2010 were not 26. So if we are to calculate the standard deviation, this standard deviation will be based on the sample, and we call it S. So we will calculate S1, which is the standard deviation, or if it is squared, that will be the variance. In this case, we need the standard deviation for yield in 2010, so we call it S 2010. Now we also calculate S 2011 in the same manner. Take note that I'm talking of S, not sigma 2010, not sigma 2011. These are the population standard deviations. Here we are talking of the sample standard deviations. Now, once we have this, how do we proceed to perform the test? Already we have stated the null hypothesis and the alternative. So we have our H0 and we have our H1. In most cases, you will be told that test this claim at 5%. So the 5% which you are given is the level of significance. So you will have to specify your alpha equal to, if it's 5%, it will be 0.05. Take note that 5% is 0.05. Now, what is the decision rule? Decision rule, I'm sure you need to to look at this one, the alternative hypothesis. Decision rule will be reject H naught if T calculated, you look at this side, T calculated, if T calculated is greater than T critical. If T calculated is greater than T critical, you reject H naught. Now suppose our test was the yield in 2010 is less than yield in 2011. The decision rule will be reject H naught if T calculated is less than T critical. So what I want you to take note is the decision rule depends on the alternative hypothesis. So the sign that the decision rule will have to take here is directly dependent on the alternative hypothesis H1. Now that you have the decision rule, what is T calculated? T calculated, the good thing about this is that the formulas will be provided. In most cases, I don't expect you to memorize the formula for T calculated. It will be provided. Now, the T calculated, I'm using T because we are saying we are performing a T test rather than a Z test. So T calculated will be given by X bar 1 minus X bar 2 minus D naught, I will explain this, divided by the square root of SP squared 1 over N1 plus 1 over N2. Now what is this? X bar 1 is the average for 2010, average for 2011, the claimed difference in this case, in most cases it's 0. Because if you subtract the 2, we are saying it's 0. But if we were saying the average is 30 more than the average of yield of Mahangu in 2011 is 30 less than that of, then D will be 30. So we will put D 30 here. But in this case, our D is actually 0 because this is the hypothesized average. Now, what is this SP? SP is a pooled variance. It is a common variance between yield of Mahangu in 2010 and yield of Mahangu in 2011. So how do you get this SP? SP squared will be given by N1 minus 1 times S1 squared plus N2 minus 1 times S2 squared divided by the degrees of freedom, which is N1 plus N2 minus 2. And again, I don't expect you to memorize this because you are given this one and you are also given that one. Yours is to be able to, if you are given the problem, you must be able to identify that here this is a T-test. Once you identify this is a T-test, in most cases you will be given S1, S2, N2, N1. Like in this case, our N1 will be 26, our N2 will be 22, our X bar will be given, our X bar 2 will be given, our S1 squared will be given, our S2 squared will be given. Then you take those values, you put them here, you get your SP squared, use this formula, you get your T calculated. Then after getting your T calculated, remember our decision rule is saying reject H naught if T calculated is greater than T critical. So which means you still have to get T critical. T critical is given by T, this is from the tables, the T tables. T at alpha with how many degrees of freedom? You take the degrees of freedom of this denominator for the common variance. So it will be T at alpha with N1 plus N2 minus 2 degrees of freedom. So after, this is just a value from the tables. So you take this from the tables, you compare it with this one. and you look at what your decision rule is saying. Therefore, you can make a conclusion on whether you are rejecting or failing to reject H naught. I think a numerical example will help in this case. Okay, possibly let me give an example so that those formulas might make sense. Suppose we have two companies, company X and company Y. That's our example one for how to use a t-test. Company X and company Y. Sorry. Let me assume that these two companies, they manufacture machines. Company X manufactures a machine and company Y manufactures a machine. The machines are used to fill bags of millimil, 20 kg bags of millimil. Now there is a claim that the machine manufactured by company X fills less than the machine that is manufactured by company Y. Or the company Y may claim that their machine fills more. In other words, instead of filling 20 kg, it can fill 22, 23. Whereas this one fills less. So, in that case, what it means is that there is a claim that is being made. So the null hypothesis will always be no. The average weight for X, for machine X, is the same as the average weight for machine Y. In other words, we are saying the machines feel exactly the same on average. If company Y claims that their machine will always fill above 20, then our alternative hypothesis will be average for Y is greater than the average for X. Now, if there is this claim, what it means is that we will have to collect a sample of bags filled by machine from company X, and also we will have to collect some few bags of millimil filled by machine from company Y. Suppose that we collect a sample of 12. That means N1, let me write it as Nx, the sample of bags collected from those bags which were filled by company X. Suppose Nx was 12, we collect 12, and from these bags, remember, if we collect 12 bags, we will have 12 values. Let me just say maybe 13, 23, 24, up to 12, because for each bag we are going to measure. And I want you to recall that if we have 12 values to calculate the mean X, that will be X bar for machine X, it will be given by, we add summation of, I'm sure all of you know this, summation of X divided by 12. That will give us the average for that one. So for the standard deviation, which is Sx, it will be the square root of, we sum X minus X bar, we divide by Nx minus 1. Now, so I just want you to take note, if you are not given the standard deviation and the average, you can calculate it by yourself. That means you will be given the values for all the bags which were filled by company X machine. But in this case, you are given Nx is equal to 12, and X bar X was found to be 8.5 0.55 kgs. In this case, you are given the summary, and with a standard deviation of Sx was found to be 1.27. Now, suppose for y, a sample of 14, that is ny now, is equal to 14, and x bar y was found to be 7.84, and sy was found to be 1.41. So what we need to do is to complete the test if we get this information. How do we proceed to do the t-test? I want you to take note that we are using the t-test simply because our sample size is small according to the earlier definition given. It's less than 30, and this one is also less than 30. So we will state our hypothesis formally. H naught, the average for machine X is the same as the average for machine Y, versus H1, average for machine Y, because they are claiming it's actually greater than the average for machine X. Remember, we are told that we are supposed to perform the test alpha equal to 0.05. This is given. Now the decision rule, and I want you to take note that this is a one-tailed test, tailed to the right. Decision rule will be reject H naught if T, we are using T because it's a t-test. T calculated, we will shorten it to T cal, it's greater than T crit. T crit, that's T critical. Now, as usual, our T cal will be given by x bar x minus x bar y minus d naught divided by the square root of sp squared 1 over nx plus 1 over ny. As I told you that you don't need to recall the formula you are given. But what we need to do now is to be able to take the values and we put them there. Now, the first thing that you need to do is to calculate your SP. SP squared is given by nx minus 1, s1 squared plus ny minus 1, s2 squared, divide this by nx plus ny minus 2. I want you to take note that we are subtracting 2. These are the degrees of freedom, and I'm sure I will explain better as we proceed what these degrees of freedom are. Now, from this formula, you can see that everything is provided here. You have your nx, you have your sx, you have your sy. So it's just a matter of putting the values there. So your nx will be 12 minus 1, s1, that is your sx, that will be 1.27, but this value is squared, plus your ny is 14 minus 1, your sy is 1.41 squared. You will divide this by 12 plus 14 minus 2. This will give you your SP squared. And this SP, you need to put it here. Now, to proceed to calculate your T cal, let me just show it here in this space. Obviously, you need to use your calculator. This is going to be 11 times this one squared plus 13 times this one times this value squared. Then you divide by, this is 26 minus 2, you divide by 24. That will give you your actual SP squared value. Now, after getting that, which means your T calculated will be x bar 1, the average was found to be 8.55 minus x bar y 7.85 minus, remember what I said, D naught is the hypothesized difference. In this case, it is 0. And I want you to take note that in most cases, D naught is 0, unless given otherwise. So this will be minus 0 divided by, remember you already have your value for SP from the calculator. It will be the square root of the value that you have, you put it here, multiplied by 1 over your nx is 12, plus 1 over your ny is 14. I'm sure everyone should be able to use a calculator to get the actual value here, and I'm sure it will be just one simple value, not a very big value. Now, with this one, you already have your T calculated. The next thing is for you to get your T critical. Your T critical, as I explained, it will be T at 0.05 with how many degrees of freedom? It will be 26 minus 2 with 24 degrees of freedom. I want you to take note that our T tables, unfortunately I should have been able to display the T tables. The T tables have got a column for degrees of freedom this side and alpha this side. So all the alpha values are listed 0.01 for example, 0.1, 0.05, 0.025 going that side. So in this case, the degrees of freedom are also listed downwards up to 29. Remember I said we use the T when our sample size is 29 and below. So it won't go above. So degrees of freedom, in this case you come to 24. Go down up to 24. Then we are doing this test at 0.05. So you come to 0.05. 0.05 is here. Where the two intersect, that will be somewhere here. There is a value that is here. This will be your T, 0.05, with 24 degrees of freedom. You read it here. That is the reason why we need to understand the T at what level and with how many degrees of freedom. So T at 0.05 with 24 degrees of freedom. 24 degrees of freedom at 0.05, where the two intersect, you read your value. Then you compare it with this one. If this value is going to be less than this one, what do you do? That is, T critical is less than T cap. In other words, after calculating this, suppose you get 3.24. Let me just give this as an example. Suppose this is, I'm not saying this is the actual value. I'm saying suppose this will give you 3.24 after putting it in your calculator. Then your T crit, suppose your T critical is 2.24. Honestly, this is greater than that. So you go back to your decision rule. What did we say? We say you reject H naught if T cal is greater than. You ask yourself, is this greater than this? In this case, the answer is yes. So if this is greater than this, what did we say you do according to your decision rule? Reject H naught. So what is H naught saying? H naught is saying the two averages are the same. So rejecting H naught means you are saying no, the averages are not the same. In fact, what is being claimed by Company Y is the truth. So you have to make a conclusion. So if you check on the ingredients to a test of hypothesis, those are the ones that we were using. We stated the hypothesis, specified our alpha, we specified the decision criteria, we computed our test statistic and our critical value, we compared the two on the basis of the decision rule, and we are now making a decision on whether what is being claimed is true or false. This is basically the process. I'm sure in our next segment we can proceed to look at the Z-test, whereby we have to look at those other conditions. In this case, we have looked at a t-test example where the sample size is small and the standard deviation for the population is unknown. Thank you very much.